Hello my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to my next mini project. So what I've got here is a customer's guitar. It's a classical guitar. Hard to tell the age of it, but it's a real cheapie. And they brought it in just for a restring. So it's a half decent looking guitar. So as I said, the customer only wanted a restring, and that's basically all I've charged them for. But as always with me, I always go above and beyond, and this, to be honest, does need a little bit more than a restring. It needs a, I guess you call it a mini restoration. I mean, if we look at the fretboard to start with, it's I don't know why, we've got some colour change here, completely different colour. And it's the same at the top as well. Either side of the first 4 or 5 frets, we've got that lighter colour on the fretboard, and that's a bit strange. I'm not quite sure what that's all about. But the fretboard itself is in a pretty poor state. The headstock and the tuners, yeah, I mean, you know, they're looking a little bit tired. They need a little bit of love. Now, some of the eagle-eyed amongst you might have noticed that this guitar, this classical guitar, has been strung, for some reason, with steel strings. Now, on a classical guitar, that is a big no-no. Never, ever, ever put steel strings on your classical guitar. They are not built to withstand the tension of steel strings. Classical guitars have nylon strings, okay? So, whoever put the strings on this either doesn't have a clue what they're doing, or they thought they could get away with it. Now, the problem with steel strings on a classical guitar, as I said, they're not built for it. You know, they're not built with the same kind of strength as a acoustic guitar, which does have steel strings. So, when I first got this into the shop, the first thing I did was have a look across here, and I noticed there was quite a serious bulge behind the bridge. Obviously the steel strings, because they're so under so much tension, it was pulling the whole thing forward. So the very first thing I did was I loosened all the strings off to take the tension off. And I have to be honest, since then that has gone down a fair bit. But you know, potentially it could have really caused some bad damage. And on closer inspection, I did notice, you might be able to see, there's some small cracks here and here, which, you know, is telltale signs of too much tension on the bridge. So I might well have just about saved this guitar's life, because as I said, they're not built for steel strings, they're not strong enough. And you know, it is quite lucky that that didn't just basically rip a big hole in the top of the guitar there. So first thing I'm going to do, just going to get the camera set up first. Let me just go up a bit and then tilt down, and we'll get started on working on this guitar. Okay, so bear with me 1 second. Let's just turn that around that way and tilt down. Right, how's that looking? Not too bad. I think we'll get away with that. Okay, let me just put my extra light on as well. There we go. Okay, so as I said, the first thing I'm going to do is take out the steel strings. So I've got them all slackened off, so I can just get a pair of cutters and just whip through all of them straight away. Bang, 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 like that. Okay, so we take these ends out first. Really surprised they got away with this, you know, that it didn't actually damage or completely destroy the top of this guitar. Okay, so that's the back ends out. I'm going to need to just cut the strings off the headstock end for speed. Those are not going to work. Let's just get those ones in there. They should do the job. So I can't really, you know, see what's going on with the guitar until I get all the strings off and have a proper inspection. As I said, when I got it into the shop, I gave it a quick look over just to see what I was up against. And like I said, immediately noticed there was steel strings on it and thought, oh dear, that's not good. Unfortunately, the customer had already left by then. I was too busy to speak to them when they came in and didn't get a chance to, you know, to look at the guitar and speak to them at the same time. But it's not a problem. Okay, let's get those out. Okay. Much quicker just to cut these to get them out. It'll take forever to unravel them. And the other thing as well, I mean these strings have been on here for a long time. They're black. So these strings have been on this guitar for quite a long time. So again, I am really surprised that there wasn't any severe damage done to it. However, I haven't had a look inside yet, so I'm going to hold that thought. But, you know, the top of the guitar just isn't built for the tension of steel strings, so by rights it should have caused more damage than it has. Considering by the looks of these strings, as I said, they've been on for a long time. I would guess years. Right, just getting the last one off. This is going to be the hardest one. Right, almost there. Oh dear. Right, there we go. So that's all the strings off, and the nut has fallen off as well, but that's not at all a problem. Actually, wow, that's interesting. I've not seen that before. This is basically a double-sided nut, so we've got all the grooves there. Turn it over, and you've got some more. That's interesting. It does look as though they might be for different gauges of strings. Well, that's interesting. I'll take a closer look at that later. I didn't even notice that before. That's really interesting. I've never seen a double-sided nut before with two sets of string slots or grooves. That is really interesting. And it, as I said, I can't really tell, but it does look as though it's for two different gauges of strings, which is awesome. That's a really good idea. Why don't more manufacturers do that? And the slot that it fits into, the nut, is kind of a purpose-made carriage, if you like. It looks like it's plastic, and that is basically screwed onto the neck of the guitar, and then the nut just fits inside there. That's the other way around. That's interesting. I've not seen one like that before. I mean, that would suggest some kind of quality, I guess. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll have a closer look at all that later. How are we doing for time? Good grief. Now, the saddle, let's just turn around. The saddle, I don't know if you can see that, has been cut really low. I mean, obviously, because they had the problem with this back end bulging up, it would have raised the action on the strings. So it looks as though somebody has cut that saddle right down to compensate for that. Okay, so let me just find my little holder, and I'm going to put the saddle in there. Oh, it goes that way. Just for the correct orientation. Is that saddle going to come out? Stuck in there pretty well. Okay, well if it's not going to come out easily, I will leave it in place, that's fine. Okay, so the first thing I need to do before I can inspect this properly is get all the crap out from inside. So I'm just going to shake out what I can first of the bigger bits and pieces. I can already hear something rattling around in there. What is it? It's a pick. A crusty old guitar pick, which, you know, you don't use generally on a classical guitar, but a steel string guitar you do. So, doesn't appear to be too much rattling around in there. Now, pretty dusty inside. I want to just vacuum it out as best I can. I can't really get in there too well, but just to get the worst of it out. Right, plug that in. Okay, so I'm going to switch off the microphone while I'm doing this, because otherwise I'll blow your speakers out. So bear with me, microphone going off. Okay, that should be good enough for now. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. But just get some of the dust and crap out of the way. Just move that now. Okay, so while I've got the torch in my hand, I just want to have a look inside on the back braces, see if I can see any issues with any of those. So we've got one sort of up the top here on the back, which looks to be in really good order, no problems there. And looking around the kerfing around the edge as well, that all looks to be good. Neck block, just a bit of dust and crap there. Neck block looks great. Now there's no truss rod on this neck, and before I took the tension off the strings I did check the neck angle or bow if you like, and it seemed absolutely fine, which again was surprising with the steel strings on there. Okay, so there's another brace in the middle here at the back, which I'm looking at now, and again I can't see any problems with that at all. So looking further down now to about here, where the last brace is, and again that looks absolutely perfect. Okay, so inside this guitar really looks rather good. Now, while I've got the thing apart, I just want to check, I mean I've checked all the back braces and they seem to be fine, so I want to now check the braces on the top of the guitar. So there's one here, not really going to be able to see that too well at the moment, but what I want to do first, before I actually have a look inside at the braces, is do a tap test. So I basically just hold onto the guitar and tap it to see if there's any vibration noises. Can't really see what I'm doing there, can you? Just angle that camera back up a bit. Okay. Alright, so let me just turn that light off, that's going to wash out. So yeah, all I'm doing is just holding the guitar up lightly by the neck to let it sort of dangle, and then just tapping on the top and listening for any vibrations. Now I can hear a vibration, so something's loose in there. I don't think it's this brace though. There's another brace here. Sounds like that one's okay. Now I'm hearing some vibration. Yeah, something loose in there. Thankfully this end seems to be okay. Yeah, there's a lot of vibration there, so something's loose inside. Okay, so what I need to do is get my lighted mirror and have a proper look inside. There's definitely something loose in there, I can hear it. So looking at the 3 back braces, they seem fine. So I've got a brace here at the top and another brace here. I don't know what else is down there yet, haven't had a look. So let's start with the top brace and see if I can see any issues there. That end looks fine. The middle, I can see a slight gap there, but it's not secure. I mean, it is secure, and I wouldn't even be able to get any glue in there to change that. That actually looks good. I mean, that's just a slight gap there. There's no, it's not actually come away. Let me see if I can get to look at the back side of that brace. I mean, these mirrors are an absolute godsend for this kind of work. You need to know what's going on before you start. Right, that brace looks absolutely fine, which is great. So now I'll take a look at this one. That looks absolutely fine. Got a little bit of here underneath the sound on going towards a brace. I've got some overspill of the finish, which is interesting. I've not seen anything quite like that before. So now I'm going to take a look at the back of the brace, or the other side of it at least. Yeah, that all looks absolutely fine. So this brace and this brace, they seem absolutely fine. So as I could tell when I was doing the tap test, the looseness is somewhere in the middle here. So I'm going to take a look now and see what I can see. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. That is interesting. Right, two things I can see, or not see, as the case may be. So the braces here and on the back, they're quite thick, chunky braces, which is what you normally see. And you would normally see another one perhaps down here, but there isn't one on this. And also, strangely enough, there's no bridge plate. There's no piece of wood underneath the bridge inside the guitar. So instead of having brace, well, I say we don't have braces going across. What we do have is 3 thin strips of wood going down the length, one in the middle, one here and one here. And they're about, I would say, 4 mil wide and about 3 millimeters thick. So they're not huge, great chunky things. Okay, well, that's obviously how it was constructed. Now, what I am seeing now is, sorry, bear with me a second. I think this middle one and this one this side, definitely this one, are loose at the end. They're kind of coming away. Yeah, so this one this side, this end for about that much, an inch and a half. I can see that it's actually coming away from the body. So when I press down, I can see it coming away. The middle one, hard to tell. I'm not sure. I think the middle one's all right. And that side, yeah, that one's fine. Try and look further down. If there's any problems with it further down, it's going to be a real problem to get to that to fix it. But I have to say, they look just fine. So this brace here, or I'm going to call it a brace, that's where I was hearing that rattling. I can see that it's, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you that. Probably not. No, it's impossible. Okay, so there's a thin brace that goes from top to bottom here, in the middle and here. And this one, this side, is definitely coming away a little bit at the top, at this end. So that was the rattling I was hearing, and I need to try and fix that because that's what I want to do. Now, that's going to be tricky. To get glue up inside there, that's going to be, yeah, that's going to be tricky, but I'm pretty sure I can do it. So let me just get a small paintbrush, a dry paintbrush, and just see if I can kind of get my hand in there with the paintbrush and kind of get up inside that where it's coming away. It's going to be pretty tricky, but let's see what I can do. Okay, yeah, I can do it. I can do that. Oh, that's good. It's tricky because you kind of, you're going in reverse of everything, and it's an awkward angle, but it's doable. I can do it. So let me just double check the other braces, see if there's any more loose ones. This middle one, I'm not sure. No, I think that one's fine. That end one I can see is absolutely fine. Don't know, that middle one might need a touch of glue on there. Okay, so I've had a look inside. I know what I need to do, and it's a tricky fix, but it's doable. Actually, I want to take a look at these cracks on the top here as well. I mean, I can see that they are flexing a bit. These cracks right here. Let me just see what I can see on the inside of those. Okay, so we're about there. Well, interestingly enough, the cracks don't seem to go right the way through, which is good, because that would be a difficult fix. Let me just get my torch. Actually, I don't think those are open. I think that's just surface cracks on the finish. So I'm going to leave that. Because that's opening a whole can of worms doing things like that, especially with finish. So that is stable enough, I don't need to touch that. I may try and get a little drop of super glue in there, but I might just leave it alone. Okay, so one other thing I need to do, or need to check, is whether or not I can get a clamp inside where I'm fixing that brace. So let me just put the mirror back in there. Okay, so that's going to be right there. That's going to be tricky getting a clamp on that, because it's just inside the big brace. So I think, okay, I've got to try and figure that out. I have to get a clamp in there once I've got the glue on, but I'll figure it out. I'll get something. What I might do is make a piece of wood that's about the right length and then just use that as a wedge. Okay, so now that I've inspected the guitar fully, I know what I'm up against, what work I need to do. So first of all, I need to fix that brace. Shouldn't be too difficult. It's going to be a little bit fiddly, but I'll be able to do it. Like I said, the most important thing is to try and figure out how to clamp it once I've got it in there. Now, I'm not going to film that because it's going to be a long fiddly job, and you're not going to see what I'm doing anyway. So all you need to know is that there is a thin brace that runs up here, and right at the end where it meets the big brace going across, it's come loose. I need to get a little bit of glue in there, clamp it up, and it'll be as good as new. So that's going to be the end of this video. So it's basically an inspection just to see what I need to do, and looking over it, there's no other damage that I can see. The neck is all good. Like I said, the neck angle and the bow is just about right on it. So I'm going to fix that, and then the next job will be basically a major clean-up of the guitar itself and the tuners and this fretboard. So that's going to be part 2. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please leave a thumbs up and a comment, and share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. And we will see you in part 2 soon. In the meantime, please look after yourselves, look after each other, and we'll see you soon. Peace out.